Where is away? Since we live in Vermont, we have 3 categories for our waste. We have trash, recycling, and compost. Now we're going to take a look at where all of that stuff goes after it gets picked up from our homes, our schools, and our businesses. Let's start with trash. This is the Triple T fleet of trash trucks. All of these go out on any given day to pick up our trash in many different towns of Windham County. Then they arrive at the Triple T transfer station, where all of that trash gets spilled out onto what's called a tipping floor. In order to get the trash ready to transport all the way to Vermont's last landfill, they have to crunch it down to fit the load into the roll-off container. Goodbye, trash. Good luck on your journey. Once the trash arrives at the landfill, they unload it and roll over it with this landfill trash compactor machine. It rolls over the trash and crunches it down. When the landfill is as full as can be, they put a tight cap on top to close it up forever. Some landfills choose to install solar panels over the top to provide power for the community. We installed 20 acres of solar panels over our landfill at the Windham Solid Waste Transfer Station. Let's talk about recycling. Recycling also gets taken to a transfer station where it gets dropped onto a tipping floor. Here we see a mountain of acceptable items like cardboard, plastic bottles, and paper. And from there, it goes to a MRF. MRF, spelled MRF, stands for Material Recovery Facility. In this big building, plastic, paper, glass, and metal is all separated into the right category. They use lots of machinery, including magnets and some new technology which identifies the right type of plastic and puts it in the right pile. Most importantly though, MRFs employ a lot of people. Real people work in MRFs every day, separating our junk. So let's make sure that we clean it out as good as possible so that no one gets hurt or more dirty than they have to. After everything gets separated, it gets put into these large, tight cubes called bales. Bales of aluminum cans can be turned into things like bicycle frames. Bales of cardboard can be turned into food packaging. Don't even get me started on what plastic can be turned into. Recycled plastic can become hats, and it can even become sneakers. Now let's talk about compost. You can compost anything that used to be alive. Composting typically starts in the kitchen where we separate our food scraps. You know, the stuff we don't or can't eat. This giant pile is what finished compost looks like, and it smells a lot like earth. Can you believe that used to be food? But how does composting actually work? Well, all of these food scraps and paper materials get dropped off at our compost field at Windham Solid Waste. Then we come along and we cover it with something that can weigh it down so it doesn't blow away and so that it can heat up. Right now our friend is covering this pile with leaf mold made from decomposed leaves. After the leaf mold goes on top, the pile heats up quite a bit. Over time, the pile is visited by many insects and microbes, which eat up all the remaining food and heat up the pile so that it can turn into finished compost. Sometimes there are items in there that don't belong, like plastic. At the end of the composting process, we screen it. The fine stuff on the left is good to go, and the other stuff is junk. And voila, finished compost. Can I get a honk? So let's get this straight. Trash travels 160 miles north to be buried and never seen again in a landfill? Recycling travels about 70 miles to get separated and sent out elsewhere to turn into other things. And compost? Well, compost is made right here in Brattleboro. Thank you to everyone for watching this video, and thanks from me, Alex, your host.